Patagonia is a geographical region that encompasses the southern end of South America, governed by Argentina and Chile. The region is known for its dramatic mountain peaks and an abundance of glaciers and unique wildlife. But for hundreds of years, Patagonia was a land that was known for being inhabited by giants. This map here from 1562 shows the Patagonian giants holding a bow and arrow larger than the man standing next to it. The name Patagonia comes from the word Patagon, a term used by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan in 1520, with one description of the name Patagonia meaning a large, clumsy foot, referencing the feet of the giants of the region. In Numbers 13:33 of the Old Testament, it says, "We saw the giants, the descendants of Anak, came from giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight." The Bible and the ancient cultures from around the world all talk about the existence of giants in their days, and Patagonia has a lot of history surrounding this. The first mention of the giants of Patagonia, or the Patagons, were by Ferdinand Magellan and his crew, who were exploring the coastline of South America in the 1520s on their journey to circumnavigate the entire world. One of the few survivors of the expedition wrote down his account of an encounter with a giant who was twice the size of a normal person, and that says, quote, "One day we suddenly saw a naked man of giant stature on the shore of the port, dancing and singing and throwing dust on his head. The Captain General, Ferdinand Magellan, sent one of our men to the giant so that he might perform the same actions as a sign of peace. Having done that, the man led the giant to an inlet where the Captain General was waiting. When the giant was in the Captain General's in our presence, he marveled greatly and made signs with one finger raised upward, believing that we had come from the sky. He was so tall that we reached only to his waist. He was well proportioned." Kind of amazing that if this account is actually to be true, that the giant would point up to the sky in reference to people with advanced knowledge and technology, which could have been a passed down tradition because their fathers were fallen from the sky, the fallen angels of Genesis 6:4. Throughout the 15th and 16th and 17th century, many other explorers who traveled to Patagonia claimed to have encounters with the giants of the region. In the 1590s, Anthony Knivet claimed that he had seen dead bodies 12 feet long in Patagonia. In the 1590s, William Adams, an Englishman aboard a Netherlander ship rounded Tierra del Fuego, reported a violent encounter between his ship's crew and unnaturally tall natives. In 1615, a grave with bones of the giants in Puerto Deseado were reported by William Schuiten and Jacob Lee Marie. The official story of this claim and many other finds of giant bones ties the bones to ancient giant fossils. The other mainstream narrative for the explanation of these sailors' accounts of giants in Patagonia is tied to the Tawalchi tribe of natives who lived in the region, who were said to be taller than the average person living in Europe at the time. And while the Tawalchi tribe may have been larger than the average person, this is no explanation that some of the sailors' accounts of the giants they encountered said that the tallest men on their crews' heads only went up to the giant's waist, or the other explorers' accounts of seeing the dead bodies of giants over 12 feet tall. In 2 Samuel 21:20 it says, "Yet again there was war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number, and he also was born to the giant." 2 Samuel 21:16 says, "Then Ishbi-Benob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose bronze spear was 300 shekels, who was bearing a new sword, thought he could kill David." The Bible references giants time and time again. Earth's ancient past showing the impossible megalithic sites that were built, as well as the reference of giants all throughout the Bible and all throughout ancient cultures, proves the narrative of the Bible and the supernatural past of the world to have way more validity than modern-day science would like to give it. The understanding that the giants, the Nephilim offspring in the world, were once a part of Earth's history absolutely proves the Bible to have way more validity. It also shows that the theory of evolution that is taught is clearly not correct. There's really no proof of macroevolution anywhere in the world, not a single case of any interspecies animal exists, and the knowledge that giants once existed in the world would absolutely blow apart the evolution narrative, which is why right at the beginning of the printing press and all these discoveries of giant bones in the early days of America and the world at the same time, all these universities who were getting on board with the theory of evolution started taking the giant bones in, of course didn't want to have to switch their narrative that they had been teaching on evolution, and decided to cover up the evidence of these bones. As time has gone on and the science field and the universities have grown to be anti-Bible and anti-God, the possibility of the evidence of these giant bones that they have being released to the public, of course, grows slimmer and slimmer. And it's not just scientific communities as well. Religious organizations, such as rumored by the Vatican, are said to have possession of some of these bones. And since the bones of the giants, which are the offspring of the fallen angels, are tied to that fallen angel genetics, you can see how nefarious organizations of people would want to get a hold of these bones and these DNA to maybe even produce the offspring and the entities such as the Antichrist or his army of 2 million soldiers that will come upon the earth in the last days. Many possibilities as to why these bones and the understanding of these giants has been covered up by certain organizations, but if we look back at history, at all the different cultures all across the world, at some point we have to say, maybe all of these guys weren't lying and there actually were giants in the earth at one point. And of course, as we know, and why this truly matters to me, is because the Bible says that it is true and that these beings were walking on the earth at one point in history. And the understanding of this truth and the covering up of this truth hopefully would open the eyes of those who are interested to see that there is truth and there is validity within the Bible and the stories within it. So at some point, people just need to make up their own mind. Are all these stories from every culture all throughout the world just lying and exaggerating about the height of certain beings called giants living in their regions? Or is the biblical truth talking about giants all throughout the earth, the offspring of the fallen angels and women, actually a reality and a truth that existed once on the earth and may even still exist in remote parts of the earth today? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Fascinating subject. And let me know what other regions of the world have a history of giants that ancient explorers came across, or that some aspects of mainstream history have tried to cover up.